Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth week of Travels with Tulsans, sponsored by the Friends of the Tulsa City County Libraries. My name is Marion Sexton, and we are so glad to have you join us on the fourth of our 8 adventures on a lovely day when I am so glad that we didn't try to have travels in person. If you would like more information about becoming a friend of the Tulsa City County Libraries, please visit tulsalibrary.org/friends. Be sure to join us next Wednesday for Patagonia, Argentina, and Chile with Gerald Tarrin. The link you used for this week is good again for each of the 4 weeks. If you don't have a link or lost yours, email friends@tulsalibrary.org to request one. Please feel free to share this link with all of your friends. Our travels presentations are being recorded. If you miss any, or would like to see them again, they will soon be posted on the Tulsa Library YouTube page. In fact, the first 2 already are. Feel free to put any questions you may have of our presenter in the chat at the bottom of your screen. Following his presentation, any questions you have will be addressed. Our traveler today, sharing Ireland from the north to the south, is Sloan Davis. Sloan is an associate professor of English at Tulsa Community College. He received his BA in English from the State University of New York at Albany, an MA in literature from the University of Tulsa, where he was a Parrott Fellow, and an MFA in creative writing from Wichita State, where he received an MFA Fellow in fiction. Sloan writes and performs stories. He has performed live at OKSO of Tulsa numerous times and won the Grand Slam, becoming Tulsa's best storyteller of the year in 2017. He has had fiction and poetry published in Barnstorm, the Wisconsin Review, Nebo, the Tulsa Review, the Aroostook Review, and other literary journals. Also, along with a writing partner, he writes and produces films. Their latest project, Lonely Hunter, the first of a series of short films, was showcased recently in the Red Dirt Film Festival and the 74th University Film and Video Conference. He is a singer, songwriter for the band Your Drunken Uncle. He travels often and gives tours of Ireland. Please join me in welcoming Sloan Davis.
Hi, everyone. I seem to get my video up, so I'm on a hotspot. My internet went down. I don't know if this is related to the storm. If you can hear me, I hope that's great. Can someone let me know if they can hear me?
We can hear you fine.
Okay. So, because all I see right now on my computer is my PowerPoint presentation. So I'm just going to start. This was supposed to be from the north to the south. I focused on the south because honestly, there's not enough time to do both the north and the south in this time frame. But if I'm being totally honest and transparent, I forgot to do the north, and I was about to fix that when my internet went out. So I'm just going to talk about a part of the south, the west and the southwest that I think most people would enjoy. I was in Ireland just a few months ago in November during a cold and rainy time. It's quite different than traveling in the summer. Summer is obviously the best time to go over to Ireland, mainly because it's the time you'll find the most sun. Anyhow, I've been to Ireland probably 15 times at this point for work. I've taken study abroad. I've taken tours of people from Tulsa area and beyond to Ireland. And it's kind of like a home away from home for me. So what you're seeing on this first slide is the very first time I went to Ireland. This would be in 2012, right outside the Shannon Airport. And it just had this great welcoming sign. And as you can see, there's reflections from the bus window. This is the first time I went with students. And I was able to capture this, and I always love that photo because it reminds me of the very first time I landed on the Emerald Isle. Okay, going to the next slide. Although Ireland is approximately the size of Indiana with almost the same population, You cannot do it all. This is a big thing. I know anyone who's traveled knows this. We try to fit everything in we can, but sometimes we try to fit too much in, and it really kind of bogs down the trip or exhausts us, and we come back not feeling refreshed at all. So be aware of that. Ireland is only the size of Indiana. It's just much deeper in a sense than Indiana. And no offense to anyone from Indiana, but you could probably do Indiana in 2 weeks, right? Maybe not everything, but a lot of it. Where in Ireland, because of its culture, its history, the Vikings founded Dublin over 1,000 years ago, it feels like a much larger place. And then we have a saying at Why Do You Tours that you must earn your pints. That means you have to go out and do something worthy of a pint, right? Go to that museum, hike that trail, take that boat, do something. So when you come back, you can go to that pub, you can have that pint, and then you can sort of rehash the day's events and discuss what you learned and what you experienced. Here's another photo, basically taking Ireland and plopping it right down onto Indiana there. What makes Ireland much different than other areas around the North Atlantic, and I just quick for anyone who's never been to Ireland, it's as far north latitudinally as Newfoundland. And if anyone's been up to Newfoundland or this area, you know that it gets a lot of snow and ice. It's very cold up there by the Hudson Bay. And Ireland's climate is rainy, mild, and it lacks radical swings in temperatures. Again, I was in there in November. The high was 48, the low was 42, like for most days. In the summer, that will change radically in the sense of warmth. It'll be like maybe 72 and 68, right? So it'll be much warmer in the summertime. There are two factors for this, and that is the Gulf Stream and then heat evaporating from the Atlantic Ocean. So as you can see, this map shows the Gulf Stream coming up here. It keeps these islands from turning into Greenland, right? The Gulf Stream and then the moisture coming out of the ocean allows for a more temperate climate. But also allows for a lot of rain. I've never seen green. I have to say it's like 1,000. Blue skies, and yet rain has come down. I'm getting chats. Oh, the sound is breaking up. I'm really sorry. Can you guys hear me now? I'm using a hotspot, so this is really frustrating. I know. I'll keep going. I'll just keep going. Hopefully this will work out. So here are two photos, one from the north and one from the south. On the left is County Cork in West Ireland, Southwest Ireland. That is Knockamaw Woods. I will return to this at some point, but you can see the lush green here. There is actually moss growing up these trees, and there's a hiking trail right below this that takes you to the top of this incredible forest. And this is a very good example of how lush and green Ireland is. And then to the farthest northern points, County Derry, Northern Ireland, or close to the northernest point, you can also see how green it is. And this is in August, and you can see the mist around these hills, something of a Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings kind of vista here. But two extreme points, one from the south, one from the north, still showing us this green temperate landscape. So most people travel for 2 weeks and to Ireland or wherever they're going. I would suggest if you ever fly over the Atlantic going towards Europe to take at least 2 weeks. Going over for a week, you're going to have some jet lag. It's going to be a bit exhausting, and you need to give yourself some time. As I said, summer is the best time to travel. Believe it or not, May and June is probably the best time to be in Ireland due to the amount of sunshine, which is usually the best in May and June, but also there is a lack of tourism. I shouldn't say lack, but there's just less of tourism. There will be a lot of tourism, but July and August tends to be really heated with tours, and it can be quite exhausting. There are several ways to get around Ireland, and this can be for the north up here, which is obviously part of the UK, or the Republic here, right? And that is to rent a car. If you feel comfortable driving on the opposite side of the road, and it's not that difficult, to be honest, you can really get around Ireland. Ireland is very small, as I said. It takes about 2 hours to get from Dublin to Galway. This is probably the straightest road in Ireland. You can also go straight up this way to Belfast to go into the north, and that's about 2 hours as well. All other roads tend to be country roads, and they are basically paved over horse trails, horse and buggy trails, right? So extremely windy, and it takes forever to get around Ireland. So be highly aware of that. If you think, oh, wow, Galway to Limerick seems like a short distance, it's going to take you half a day to get there due to the roads. All right, so besides renting a car, you can take a tour. They have tours that you can just take right here in Dublin. You can rent one from there. They'll take you to Galway, and they'll bring you back, those type of things. You can certainly set up a tour through us or through another company that will set up a whole 2-week tour for you. You can also take local transport, both train or bus. Buses tend to go everywhere in Ireland. Trains are limited. They tore up a lot of the tracks after Irish independence because, the English built those tracks. Kind of maybe not a good idea because they had good transportation, but they tore them up. So the trains, you can take trains straight to Belfast, for instance. There are some trains that go south, but not too far. And then buses go everywhere. Believe it or not, yes, some people bike. If you're into biking, it's supposed to be one of the greatest places to bike in Europe. The Wild Atlantic Way, which I'm going to get to, is a fan favorite. And yes, last but not least, Hitchhike. I know that sounds insane, but it's still highly practiced in Ireland, and especially southwest. Cork, you won't stand out for 5 minutes with your thumb out and you will get picked up. It is a very safe place to be. One note, if you travel during the pandemic, know that Ireland takes COVID very seriously. You will need to be vaccinated and you will need to wear masks. Interesting happened to me in November. Ireland was not requiring vaccinations to get into the country, but I flew through Heathrow Airport to get to Dublin, and England did require vaccination. So I had to have my vaccination card to be able to go through their airport. But the other thing is, once you get inside Ireland, all the pubs, all the restaurants require that you show your vaccination card. If you do not show it, you cannot go in. So it would be a real drag if you were to get there and not able to access some of those great pubs and restaurants. Okay, moving on. So we're gonna start with the breakdown here. This is what you could probably do in 2 weeks. A really good trip. Start out in Dublin. Most flights land in Dublin, and it's a great international city. You should explore it. The Burren, which I'll get to, is a unique moonscape landscape, completely unique to Ireland. It's a national park. The Spanish harbor of Galway, going down to Doolin, the music village of the West. Of course, the Cliffs of Moher, and these are one of the 8 wonders of the world. The Aran Islands, which are these little islands right here. I'll get into that. And then I've got some County Kerry and West Cork gems. One thing that we like to do is to not only hit some of the tourist spots, i.e. the Cliffs of Moher, avoid some. I know a lot of people love Guinness. The Guinness Brewery tour in Dublin is, it's a very nice tour, nothing really wrong with it, but people should know that it is set up for tourism. So it is sort of a facade, right? Doesn't have this unique quality to it, if you will. But you get a free pint of Guinness at the top, so that's always lovely. The Blarney Castle. Look, the Blarney Castle is gorgeous, and everyone wants to say you have to kiss the Blarney Castle, right? You have to do it. It's, you know, luck and all those things. I've done it with students, and it too false, right? Felt kind of like not an authentic experience. However, the castle is gorgeous and the grounds are stunning. So, you know, that would be up to you. It's a trip outside of Cork to go to, but it would be up to a person's choice to go there. I haven't gone back since the first time I went. I'm going to show you other things. So in these maps here, we talk about the Wild Atlantic Way. The one on the left here, this blue one here, this is the original Atlantic Way. This is what they will say is the true Atlantic Way, and that's because it's against the Atlantic Ocean here. But as you can see, these maps evolve. Tourism, so much tourism starts here in Dublin. So they're like, this is how you do it, and this is how you do it if you want to avoid Northern Ireland, which if you're gonna go north, I would say do not avoid Northern Ireland, because Belfast and Derry and the Giant's Causeway up here and Bushmills and the Antrim coast up here is stunning, but that's for another slideshow. So they created their own journey up here and then they wrap around, which is what a lot of people do. This is a very common Wild Atlantic tour, if you will. But here's this one. And this one to the right is from Belfast, and it also goes around. And obviously it's an island, so the coasts are really stunning. A lot of the great landscapes are there. A lot of the history is there as well. There is plenty to explore in the middle of Ireland, but most people explore the coast. But you can also see, like from Cork, they kind of go through the mountains here, coming up to Kilkenny, which is a wonderful medieval town, and then through the Wicklow Mountains here to come to Dublin. It's all available. It's all there. It's unfortunate they cut off this part because the southeast is also beautiful. But you can only do so much, right? So you have to kind of pick and choose your battles here. And then one last note I'll say is that the train ride from Dublin to Belfast, again, it's about 2 hours, hugs the coast. And it is one of the prettiest train rides I've ever taken. So lots of options. Dublin. Dublin's a city of about 1.5 million people. The Romans it took Paris before Dublin gets created. And what I find, am I lost? I'm seeing people say I've lost sound. Are we lost? Hello? You're back. Just keep going. Okay, Tara, thank you. Sorry, guys. So I was saying that the difference, the distance between Paris and Dublin is not that far, right? But 1,000 years it took before Dublin was created after Paris. It's always a fascinating thing for me to think about. Inside Dublin, you have so much to explore. Let's start, okay? So right to the far right corner here is the Temple Bar District. This is a famous cobblestone district. It can be extremely busy during high tourist season. But some of the famous pubs that you'll ever go to are here. For me, it does not feel like authentic Ireland. It feels like a tourist trap. But it is always worthy to go in there. There are shops and there are restaurants, some very old restaurants in the Temple Bar District. Dublin, to the picture north, is a walking city. Joyce used to walk along the Liffey quite often, writing, thinking about his writing. And the Liffey River is beautiful. Dublin's a beautiful city because they don't allow for skyscrapers. The highest buildings are like 4 stories high. The cathedrals are actually the tallest buildings. And ironically, the Guinness Brewery is maybe the tallest building in Ireland or in Dublin. Anyway, what a lovely place after dinner to take a stroll. You go over to the Halfpenny Bridge here. It's called the Halfpenny because you used to have to pay a halfpenny to cross it. And now it's just a sort of romantic, beautiful bridge to cross, to walk over. This is Killarney Jail. This is where a lot of the Catholics, uprisers, protesters, even just poor thieves were jailed. Oftentimes their next stop was Australia, and exile. In the 1916 uprising, the leaders of that uprising to Ireland were jailed here and they were executed here. And those executions led to great uprising in Ireland and eventual war with England and their independence. To the left of Killarney Jail, you have St. Patrick's on the top here. It is the original St. Patrick's Cathedral. It is stunning. Jonathan Swift altar is there. You can see his tomb. It is a stunning cathedral without question. The grounds are beautiful too, which is where I took this photo, the far end around with these trees wrapped around. One that doesn't get enough conversation though is Christ Church right here. This is just up the hill from St. Patrick's, a good little walk, but less than half. What's beautiful about this church is that they have the crypts down below. So you can go down underneath and you can see all these artifacts and the history of the church itself. So I suggest going to both. They're both very stunning and different. You can also go to museums. This is a bog person. It looks like leather, and it is basically at this point. The bogs in Ireland and in Europe, Northern Europe, were oftentimes ceremoniously used for sacrifices. Oftentimes chieftains were assassinated and they were thrown into the bogs. Well, the bogs are so salty and thick of nutrients that they actually preserve these bodies. So you go to the National Museum and you can see them and they're stunning. So there are plenty of museums in Ireland. There's the Writers Museum where you can see Joyce and Swift and so many other writers from Ireland. And Ireland, of course, being a literary country, the Writers Museum is quite stunning as well. And there's a statue of Joyce right here for that. This is Trinity College. It's actually a university, but they call it Trinity College. It's a stunning campus, as you can see. It's worthy of paying for the tours there. Since we are on the Tulsa Library conversation, you would fall in love with this. This is the long room. This is a library that's in Trinity. And these are ancient manuscripts that if you were a student there, you could check out. It's very Harry Potter in the sense that it is everything you can imagine. This ceiling is, I want to say 50 feet high. It is absolutely stunning. They have the long ladders that go up. It is absolutely worth the visit. I've been maybe 6 times, and every time it is stunning. Before you enter the long room, you will learn about the Book of Kells. They have it all set up there. This is a manuscript written in Latin in the 1100 BC, or not BC, sorry, AD. Basically, the Book of Kells is illuminated gospels, and they are stunning to look at. They are in incredible, great condition, so you can truly see the artwork and everything that goes into it. So it truly is something to behold. I could go on and on about Dublin. There's a literary pub crawl with great actors, but I don't have time to do everything, and I want to move on from Dublin. So we're going to move on. So here's another map, kind of shows us the counties. These are the 6 counties of the north. And we're going to go from Dublin straight across to Galway. Like I said earlier, is the Spanish ports, the Spanish harbor. The Spanish used to come and do trade quite often. Their impact on this harbor town is everywhere you go. You can see it everywhere. You might have heard of the Black Irish. Some say that the Black Irish are because, you know, young Irish ladies would suddenly have a child with dark black hair and maybe darker skin. And of course, all these handsome Spanish soldiers coming off the boats, hence the Black Irish. This is here in a beautiful sunny day in Galway. Great shopping, great restaurants, great pubs. This is the university town too. National University of Ireland is here. So a lot of international students are in this town, and it kind of has that university town feel. This time, there we are again, the pool. Music, the River Lee is here. The River Corrib, that's the Reed River. And you can walk along its shore. It's absolutely beautiful. And then, of course, the harbor, right on the water. Worth the stop. Again, you probably 2 or 3 days, including jet lag. Galway is a great place to go in for a few hours, walk around, have lunch, maybe buy a few things, take some photos, of course, explore it. But I don't think I'd stay here. I have stayed there, but I think I would move on. So spend like half a day here. The other half, I would go to the Burren. This is in County Clare. And the Burren, again, is this national park. You can drive through it. There'll be tour buses that'll take you through it. What you have here is, first I'm gonna go to the right here. It's this karst. This is everywhere. It covers hills and hills, miles and miles of it. It looks like you've landed on the moon. It is created by chemical watering. So this is limestone. And what thousands and thousands of years of carbon dioxide creates unique landscape. So it is stunning to walk on. It's kind of dangerous. You got to be a little careful so you don't twist your ankle. But again, it feels like you're on the moon. And then you have Paul Nabrone Dolmen here. And this, believe it or not, is in Egypt. Paul Nabrone is a megalithic tomb, basically 5,000 years old. They have like 3 giant stones underneath, which they call portal stones, and then the giant capstone on top. The capstone, Marion's asking, say again what it is. Marion, are you talking about the Paul Nabrone? Yes, okay. Paul Nabrone Dolmen is a megalithic tomb. It is 5,000 years older than the pyramids. Late 19th century, early 20th century, and they found human remains under here. The Druid, old Celtic ceremonial tomb. And remarkable, if you go here, again, that karst landscape is surrounding it. You can see it here. It's amazing that this capstone has stayed on top of these stones, considering the weather that this area sees. So, Jane asking, what is karst landscape? Karst landscape, I hope you guys can hear me, is, this whole Wi-Fi thing's driving me crazy, sorry guys, is basically it's chemical weathering. So this is limestone, and these are fields and fields, miles and miles of limestone over the centuries, over, you know, millennial. You have what's called chemical weathering, and that is basically carbon dioxide mixing with rain, falling to the earth and creating and cutting the limestone, creating these shapes. So it is very much a moon landscape. I hope everyone heard that. I hope everyone heard that. I'm going to move on and go to the next slide. So after you leave the Burren, I highly suggest, again, you could be in a bus, you could be using public transportation, you can be on a tour, or you could be driving your own car. The next stop would be Doolin, and that's just down the coast from Galway. It's a quaint village. It is considered the most authentic music village in all of Ireland. It's stunning little village. It's so cute. You can walk around everywhere. These two pubs are famous. You have McDermott's here, and you have McGann's pub here, and they're famous for their food, of course, their pints, of course, but also and mainly for their music. The Russell family made Doolin famous back in the 50s, at least in Ireland, it was famous. But as you can see in this photo here, the tradition continues. You will hear trad music. Trad music is traditional Irish music. Yeah. So anyway, Doolin is perfectly situated for everything you want to do. It's right after a long day of visiting Galway and exploring the Burren with that karst landscape. You come to Doolin, you have dinner at one of these great pubs, you hear some music, and in the morning you get up and you go to the Cliffs of Moher. The Cliffs of Moher are one of the 8 wonders of the world. I go every time I go to Ireland. If I go to the west of Ireland, I'm going to the Cliffs of Moher because I never can get tired of it. Here's a picture of me right here in the center. This is actually in November. It was my first time going there that time of year. And the great thing about that was there were no tourists. I could take photos with no people in them, which is a very rare thing to do. So this is on top. And this picture to the right corner here is also from the top, believe it or not. It's like from one cliff looking over. This is 700 meters straight down, and it's got this great kind of green look to it because it's Ireland. And it goes for miles. I mean, it is, you could turn around if you were taking this photo and you would see more of these cliffs going the other direction. They have, it's great wildlife here as well, which I'll get to. And this is from the top as well. The best view, though, is from the bottom, which is this photo here from a boat. And then these are some of my students here as we're approaching the cliffs in 2013. It is just the best view. You feel the immensity. You feel the power of those cliffs when you are right below them. And the other beautiful thing about this as well, being down on the boat, is you see the wildlife. So you see these gorgeous puffins. They're so cute, right? They are adorable, but they are also incredible hunters. They dive into the water. Yes, that is a picture of me in November. This last November, I was on the cliffs. So puffins are adorable but voracious, hunters. They dive into the water and they come out with a mouthful of fish. But thousands and thousands of birds live along these cliffs, and it is stunning just to see all the birds flying around the cliffs and being close to them. It is really remarkable. Now you're probably saying, okay, wait, how do we get on the boat? How do we get on the boat to go there? I've got to get going here. I'm going a little slow. You get on the boat because you take the boat to Inisheer. These are the Aran Islands. And I highly suggest taking it. It's not that expensive. You take it right in the Doolin village. You take a boat. And here's a photo of some of the islands, right? They were all covered in rocks, and the ancient Irish decided they'd pick up all the rocks, make walls, which you can see them, and that exposed the soil so they could farm it, and their cattle, horses, and sheep could graze. It is a Gaelic talk zone, so they speak Irish, right, or Gaelic. They do know English, but when they talk to each other, they speak in Gaelic. The English didn't care about them, so they didn't force them to speak English. So let's get into Inisheer, right? I've been to Inishmore and Inisheer. I've never been to Inishmon. Inisheer is the smallest one, but I actually like it the best. Here's a picture of me riding the bike around the island, and you can see these rock walls are everywhere. This is a sunken church. They sunk it on purpose so marauders and Vikings wouldn't see it and come and raid it. And then this is a salad I had. She said, "Oh, I caught these this morning." And she put it right on my salad, and I had those incredibly fresh crab claws for lunch. It was amazing. This is a photo of that sunken church going towards the water. So in Inisheer, there's pubs on here. There's live music. It's a small village, maybe 150 people. And people actually come here to study Gaelic, to study the original Irish. It is quite the little island and worthy. It's not that expensive to make that trip. And the boat will take you right back to Doolin, and you'll get back in your car or on your bus. So next is, boom. So these are some gems. This is where we take off from maybe doing what the tourists do a little bit. So all that I showed you so far takes about 5, maybe 6 days, depending on how you travel. You have really 2 choices. So if you see my mouse here, County Clare is right here. That's where Doolin and the cliffs are. And then you can go to County Kerry, and there's so much to see there, or you can go to County Cork. You can do a little bit of both. You're going to be stretching yourself. Let me show you some Kerry first. So the Ring of Kerry is famous. This is the drive of the Ring of Kerry. It is kind of like Wild Atlantic Way in that it hits a lot of famous places. The only issue I have with the Ring of Kerry is that in high tourist season, there's just a line of buses everywhere you go. So this 3 hour and 30 minutes to do the ring is a lie. It's going to take you all day to do the Ring of Kerry. Not only because of the buses and everything, but you're going to stop. You're going to make a lot of stops along the way. You'll get yourself an Irish coffee. You might stop and see a farmer work with his sheepdog and, herd sheep. There's all these vistas and views from the coast, little pubs to get lunch. So it's an all-day thing. When you come back, you're going to need to probably have dinner and go to bed. But as you can see in this photo, it's quite stunning. So it is a tourist area, but it's also beautiful. This is Killarney National Park. It's part of the Ring of Kerry. This is the town of Killarney. It's very much a tourist area. Horse racing and live music and all the things you want from Ireland. But the national park is stunning. I mean, this waterfall is Torque Waterfall. It is huge. This picture does not do it justice. This rock is probably as tall as me. I'm 6 foot. And it goes up, like you can hike above this and you can see how big this waterfall gets. This is Ross Castle in Killarney National Park. Cromwell and his forces destroyed half of it, but the other half that remains is quite stunning. There's a lake over here. These are my students coming away from it. We run a horse-drawn buggy, and that's a great way to explore the park. And there's more than just these 2 and the city itself to explore. If you're there and doing the you might consider going. This is the farthest west point of Ireland, so basically next stop Boston. It is way out in the peninsula. It is a fish village. It would be where the Irish go to vacation. You're welcome. You're welcome. I know I'm going long here. I'm sorry. And you can see here the coastline is gorgeous. This is Shea Head Drive. And you can drive all around the peninsula. It's gorgeous. Great fish, seafood here if you like seafood. A lot of great music here as well. Wonderful place to visit. But it's so far out. It's so far out from Dublin and where you need to go that if you do end up in Dingle, you're probably going to have to start working your way back to Dublin after this. Another idea is to hit Gugambara. Now, Gugambara is a hidden gem that no one really knows this place, and not even a lot of Irish know about this place. So a lot of people, most people go to the Blarney Castle. I would say this beats the Blarney Castle by 10. Gugambara was founded originally by Saint Finbar. And you can see that he built like a monastery here on this little island. This is a little island. This is a modern day little church here. But there's a little island in this lake, big lake here. And they had a land bridge that they could cross over. And this is where Saint Finbar and the other monks would meditate. And it's so isolated that even the English didn't mess with it. They just let it be. And so it was very much, and has kept all Irish traditions alive. This is the hotel. It's a Victorian hotel. This is sort of the steps that come up from the lake. It's a beautiful hotel run by Neil and Katie. This is a fifth family generation hotel. They are wonderful people. And then you have the Gugambara National Forest, which is just next to the lake. Look at this moss growing over these stones here. I mean, this shows you Ireland green, like perfectly, right? Gorgeous, fresh water. Neil put these little doors in, like leprechaun fairy doors, right? They're all nestled in these trees. You got to find them. But look, right? 4-leaf clovers, or these are 3-leaf clovers, but very Irish. This is a secret, and not a lot of people know about it. I've taken some tours here. Everyone says it's the highlight of their trip. So I would highly suggest going to Gugambara. And it's up by Cork City, which I'm going to get to in a second. So if we're in Cork, I suggest going to Skibbereen. The reason I suggest that is you can use it as a location, one stop, right? Rent yourself a hotel or an Airbnb and use this to do day trips in West Cork. This is where the Heritage Center tour. I mean, you cannot talk about Ireland without talking great potato famine. And Skibbereen was the epicenter of that potato famine. Over 1/3 of their people died of starvation because of this, the potato famine. I took this photo of this older guy here in the famine burial ground, and they were having a ceremony to the left here. I just thought this was a stunning moment. Here I am with some people who came on the tour with us, with Mona, famous Mona. She owns Bridge House, which is this, and this is a fabulous B&B. She is very eccentric. She's an artist. You go inside, the whole place is decked out. Every room is different. There's mannequins. She serves the best breakfast in West Cork. She's a character. It's a fabulous stay. Right downtown Skibbereen, which is a very fun little village. Great people, pubs, some good restaurants. The great Skibbereen is, look on a map where it is, south of Cork. Takes you to Lougheim. This is the view. This is Knockamal Wood, which I showed you earlier. You climb Knockamal Wood if you're a hiker. You get to the top, this is a picture of me here in Angelica, and we're overlooking Lougheim right here. Was once a fresh water lake, but this right here is called the Rapids. At one point, the seas rose and filled it with seawater too. So it's a mixture of this brackish water, right? And now the seas went down a little bit, and now the tides push water in and take water out in a very unique pattern that is only unique to this. This is now a national preserve. You can hike all the way around it. I've swam in this. It's ice cold. It has fish and animals and sea creatures that are only found here. Is quite the unique landscape. And this is not even 30 minutes from Skibbereen. You can also go to Castle Townsend. This is maybe a 15-minute drive. Go into Castle Townsend. There's a great castle. We've actually stayed there with our tours. Here we are. It's a wonderful castle that's sort of grown throughout the years. So this is the oldest part. And then like this is newer. But it's at the bottom of this hill. Great food. You can have lunch right here in the castle. There's a harbor right outside this picture that we're looking at in this photo. So it's a wonderful place to spend an afternoon. On the way back from Castle Townsend, you can hit Knockdrum Fort or Stone Fort. This is an old Celtic kings or chieftains defense fort that he built years ago. It's huge. It's on a high hill, so it overlooks all the water here and overlooks land like this on the east side. It's like 12 feet wide and 10 feet tall, and it's a stunning ancient old fort. And then this is a Drumbeg Circle. It is very much in this idea of Stonehenge. It's probably built around 800 BC. They don't really know exactly for ceremonial reasons. They found human remains here. There's even a little area off this picture where they show they've uncovered an oven, a water oven, how they cooked food by boiling water with hot stones. And it's all this beautiful landscape, and of course that Irish green as well. Again, 30 minutes from Skibbereen. Then there's the Baltimore Village. This is, again, just south of Skibbereen, maybe almost its most southern point in Ireland. This is the Shirkin Islands. So we are literally at the end of Ireland here. This is the Baltimore Beacon, worthy of a hike. Beautiful views up here. Great food. This is a country pub. All this is here. It's about 300 people. It's a quaint little village. It was sacked in 1603, I think it was. Or 1631 by Algerian slave traders. They basically took most of the village bondage and sold them into slavery. And those who escaped went upriver and created Skibbereen. So that's a nice little factoid, historical factoid. On your way to Cork City, you might want to hit Clonakilty or Kinsale. Clonakilty has great pubs. Barris is there. It also has Michael Collins Institute there. He was basically created the independence of Ireland. If you go to Kinsale, it's a beautiful harbor town, and they have Fort Charles, which was the old English fort, and it's worth walking around. And you're driving north now, heading to Cork City. This is Cork City. I'm almost done, guys. I know I'm running late. Cork City is the most European city in Ireland, as far as I'm concerned. You can see it here. The city center itself is nestled in the armpit of all these hills, and all the hills are mostly covered with inhabitants, right? So residential people. But as you can see, on a nice sunny day, it's a full city, great shopping, great tons of restaurants, incredible music. Here I am in the English market. It's a famous English market where once upon a time Catholics were not allowed to sell their wares. You can go, if you have an Airbnb, you can buy your dinner here and make it in the kitchen of your Airbnb. This is the River Lee. Like Dublin, Cork is a walking city, and the River Lee is beautiful. You can also get away from the city a little bit and on the river and see some beautiful vistas. This is Cork College. Again, music, little pubs to go to. There's a butter museum in Cork. I mean, I went to it in November, and it's cute, and you learn all about Irish butter. It's quite fascinating. I could go on and on, Shannon Bells, but I'm running out of time. So look, if you're leaving Cork City, it's time to go back to Dublin because 2 weeks are up. One more stop, and that is the Rock of Cashel. You want to stop by. It's on the drive to Dublin. It'd take you no time. There's a little village next to it. You want to have lunch. This church, well, it was actually a castle first, and then the King of Munster donated it to the church, the Catholic Church, and it then became a cathedral, kind of a castle cathedral, if you will. It's very unique. And that happened in 1100 AD. But with Cromwell and the Brits, of course, they sacked it during some uprising, and they burnt the roofs. So now it's stuck in this ancient artifact look. Very much something out of Lord of the Rings, but so worth it. It is enormous. The biggest, I think, medieval structure in Ireland. And then you get back to Dublin and you do one more stroll along the Liffey, go to a good pub. This is Stag's Head. This is the Palace Bar. Classic, very famous pubs. Maybe do some shopping. Get there the day before you fly out so you're ready to go. And that's my tour of Ireland. Here's some information. So are there any questions? I know I ran late. Please ask any questions if anyone's left.
You've done a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have a couple of questions, and everybody else can put questions in while I'm talking if they and while Sloan answers. One of my questions, wait a minute, I wrote them down. Oh, when you went to the Cliffs of Moher, were there more puffins to see in November than you would have seen in the summer?
I would say no. I'd say actually, well, I didn't go out down on the water, and that's on the boat, and that's where you normally would see them because you get to those rock cliffs. You get really, the boats will take you right up against the cliffs. They're nestled on the cliff, so it's kind of hard to see them from the top. But the weather is much better. It's just brighter, sunnier, so you can see more in the summertime. There was a little bit of sun that day. I remember that. We were like, oh, yes, the sun.
Well, I've been there a couple of times and it is amazing, but I haven't been in a boat. I need to do that next. Maybe I'll.
Yeah, so the boat takes you right there from Doolin. There's a nice little harbor there, little dock. They've really done a good job. We did it all right before the pandemic. And you just get on a boat, not that expensive, takes you over the Aran Islands, and then you request a certain boat on the way back to Doolin, and that boat will take you free of charge right along the Cliffs of Moher so you can see them in all of its splendor. And then they drop you back in Doolin, and if you're leaving that day, you leave, or you go back to your Airbnb or the B&Bs. They're not really Airbnb, and you hang out. You know, it's so worth it. All of that. 2 days for all of that.
Yeah, wonderful. When you were talking about the North, when I was there last time, which was a couple of years, well, it was before the pandemic, people were concerned about whether there would have to be border crossings between the North and the South if Brexit went through. And I was wondering if you heard anything about that, you know, or if there are border checks now. They were very upset if that might happen.
Right.
Okay, you're cutting out right now. Hold it just a second.
Okay.
Okay, try again.
Oh, I think I'm on. I was in Northern Ireland this November, and I was at a Steinbeck conference. So that's kind of the reason I went over in November. I said, okay, well, if I'm going over, I might as well take some extra time and go explore Ireland some more. But there is no border crossing right now. And this has been an issue with Brexit, right? The whole holdup of Brexit is that border. Nobody wants a hard border. I know in another PowerPoint I could do a total IRA presentation. I know some former IRA members, and they basically say if they as much put a signpost on that border, they're going to blow it up. So everyone knows that hard border should not happen. I would say it's not going to happen. They
Yeah.
have a deal in place, so you just drive right through from Republic of Ireland into Northern Ireland. One will check your license.
You're totally gone.
I'm gone.
Now you're back. Okay, so they don't check anything.
Yeah, they don't check anything.
Good.
They've sort of found a way to work. Can you hear me now?
There was a pause, but now I can hear you.
Okay, I think, believe it or not, ironically, my Wi-Fi is back after the
Oh.
present. I'm living in a state of irony this morning with the storm coming in, you know?
Yeah,
But yeah, I
no
think the
kidding.
Wi-Fi is back. So yes, so that hard border is never gonna happen. If it
Good.
does, they're gonna tear it down.
Well, that's what everyone was saying, when I was there, that they were afraid that the troubles would start again.
And that's a true concern. That is a very true concern.
Yeah.
But no one wants it. And to be honest, Brexit is probably going to create a unified Ireland faster than anything that we could have hoped for. If you're for that, if you hope that
that's not
Ireland someday be a full country. And that is because when they voted on Brexit, Northern Ireland voted against leaving the EU. They wanted to stay.
Right.
And yes, Dairy Girls is fabulous, Tara. If you've never watched Dairy Girls, it's on Netflix. So funny. You need to use the subtitles because they have such a strong accent, but it is hilarious. And it's in the Troubles. It's set during the time of the Troubles, right before the Good Friday Agreement. But yeah, and so Scotland too voted against Brexit.
Right.
And if those referendums ever come back, and they're in the Good Friday Agreement, there is that referendum or that note that says they can vote to unite with Ireland. And the Catholics now there are more Catholics now in Northern Ireland than Protestants. All things are pointing to a unified Ireland.
I think that would be wonderful.
Me too. It'll be different, but yeah, no, I think it's, as the Irish say, after 800 long years of suffering, British
good
oppression,
accent. Well, if nobody has any more questions, I think that this has been fabulous, and you've done a great job even with the technical difficulties.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it.
And I would love to hear the IRA. That would be really interesting.
Yeah, I did it for my class. I'm teaching an honors Irish lit class, and I went deep into the Troubles with them, kind of explaining how the Troubles came about and what's all going on. My students who went in 2013 with me actually met an IRA member who was in prison for 16 years for killing a policeman, bombing a policeman. And because of the Good Friday Agreement, all prisoners were released. And so we met him one-on-one in a quiet room in our hotel. He was very clear about this. And he wanted to sort of present his point of view. And so it was really interesting, very fascinating to really get to know that,
That sounds like it would be fascinating because, there are two sides.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's difficult. What happened was, you might know this, but Northern Ireland voted to stay with England in 1921.
Mm-hmm.
And that caused the Irish Civil War for 2 years. But they chose to do that, and that was because they were majority Protestant counties. And so they got that choice, and they did.
That's where my heritage is from.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Scott Irish. Yeah, I have Scott Irish in me too. A lot of us.
Yeah.
Do. There's over 33 million Americans who can claim Irish heritage, and more.
I don't doubt it.
And that goes up, like that almost doubles on St. Patrick's Day.
I'm surprised it doesn't do more than double.
Maybe triples, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so very much. We really have
You're welcome.
appreciated it.
Thank you. And I do apologize for all the tech issues. It just the way the world works sometimes.
Well, I'm so glad that you can make a hotspot and that you could go ahead and do it because
Yeah, that was my last resort. And then during my presentation, I didn't notice it. My Wi-Fi came back. So it's something to do with the ice. There's ice up here. I'm in Gilcrease Hills, so there's a little ice up here, and maybe that has it. I don't know.
well, I'm at Grand Lake and there's quite a bit of ice out on my porch, it looks like.
Oh,
I haven't stepped out to find out, but it looks icy.
yeah. This is a good day to stay inside.
Absolutely. I am so glad we were doing this on Zoom and not trying to go to the library.
Yeah, well, we probably canceled.
Yeah, probably. Thank you so much.
Man, thank you so much. I had a great time. Thank you so much.
Good. We did too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.